The Byzantine Empire stood as one of the most powerful and mysterious civilizations in the medieval world. From the outside, its capital, Constantinople, appeared to be a city blessed by God. Towering churches dominated the skyline. Golden domes reflected the sunlight, and emperors claimed to rule with divine authority. Priests preached virtue, morality, and obedience, presenting the empire as the guardian of Christian civilization. To foreign visitors, it seemed like a shining beacon of order and faith. But beneath this magnificent image existed a darker reality that few dared to discuss openly. Behind the palace walls and crowded marketplaces, Constantinople was a city filled with secrets. Wealth and poverty existed side by side. Noble families lived in luxurious mansions, decorated with imported silks and precious jewels, while thousands of ordinary citizens struggled to survive in narrow streets and overcrowded districts. Corruption infected many levels of society. Powerful officials often used their positions for personal gain, while public morality frequently concealed private scandals. Entertainment played a central role in Byzantine life. The famous Hippodrome attracted enormous crowds eager for excitement, political drama, and spectacle. It was here that fortunes could be made or destroyed overnight. For women born into poverty, opportunities were limited. Many found themselves trapped in difficult circumstances where beauty and performance became valuable tools for survival. Society judged them harshly, yet many wealthy and influential men secretly supported the very industries they publicly condemned. Amid this world of contradictions, a young girl named Theodora was born around the beginning of the 6th century. Her father worked as a bearkeeper, connected to the Hippodrome, a dangerous and demanding occupation. When he died unexpectedly, his family lost their primary source of income and security. Suddenly, Theodora faced a future filled with uncertainty. Few people could have imagined that this poor child, raised in the shadows of Constantinople's darker world, would one day become one of the most powerful women in history and forever change the destiny of the Byzantine Empire. As Theodora grew older, she became increasingly familiar with the world surrounding Constantinople's famous Hippodrome. This enormous arena was far more than a place for chariot races. It served as the center of public life, where politics, entertainment, and social influence collided before crowds that sometimes exceeded tens of thousands. Victories and defeats inside the arena could shape public opinion, spark riots, and even threaten emperors. For ambitious individuals, the Hippodrome offered opportunities to gain attention. But it was also a place where countless dreams were shattered. Life for performers was especially difficult. Competition was fierce, and survival depended on attracting wealthy patrons and maintaining public interest. Those who failed often disappeared into poverty. Theodora entered this harsh environment at a young age. Every day exposed her to the realities of power, privilege, and exploitation. She observed how influential men used their wealth to control the lives of others, while presenting themselves as respectable members of society. Public appearances rarely reflected private behavior. As she traveled beyond Constantinople with theatrical groups and entertainers, Theodora gained a broader understanding of the empire. She visited distant cities and encountered people from different backgrounds, each struggling under the same system of inequality. Along the way, she witnessed political corruption, personal betrayals, and the fragile nature of status. Men who appeared powerful one day could lose everything the next. Those experiences taught her valuable lessons about human nature, rather than breaking her spirit. Hardship sharpened her intelligence. She learned how to read people's intentions, recognize weaknesses, and navigate dangerous situations. She understood that influence often came not from noble birth, but from knowledge, confidence, and determination. Every insult she endured strengthened her resolve to escape the limitations society had placed upon her. By the time she eventually returned to Constantinople, she was no longer the vulnerable girl struggling to survive after her father's death. She had become ambitious, observant, and remarkably resilient. The lessons she learned in the empire's darkest corners would soon prepare her for an extraordinary destiny. When Theodora returned to Constantinople, she was a very different person from the young performer who had once struggled to survive. Years of hardship had given her confidence, intelligence, and an understanding of the political world that many aristocrats lacked. Around this time, her path crossed with one of the most powerful men in the empire, a noble named Justinian. Justinian was the nephew and trusted heir of Emperor Justin I, unlike many members of the Byzantine elite. He was deeply interested in law, government, and military affairs. He dreamed of restoring the glory of the ancient Roman Empire and expanding Byzantine power across the Mediterranean. Ambitious and highly educated, Justinian was preparing for a future that would place him on the imperial throne. Despite the vast differences in their backgrounds, Justinian became fascinated by Theodora. Her sharp wit and remarkable intelligence immediately stood out. She was not intimidated by powerful men, nor was she afraid to express her opinions. Their conversations revealed a woman who understood people and politics in ways that surprised even the future emperor. Their growing relationship quickly became the subject of gossip throughout Constantinople. Members of the aristocracy were horrified. Theodora's humble origins and controversial past made her unacceptable in the eyes of many nobles. Byzantine law even prevented men of Justinian's rank from marrying women associated with certain professions. Powerful families expected him to choose a bride from the highest levels of society, but Justinian refused to abandon her. Determined to make Theodora his wife, he persuaded Emperor Justin to change the law. The decision shocked the empire and angered many influential figures who feared that a woman from such a background would gain access to the highest levels of power. In 525 AD, Justinian and Theodora were married. 2 years later, when Justinian became emperor, she was crowned empress beside him. Many believed she would simply stand beside the throne as a ceremonial figure. They had no idea that Theodora was about to become one of the most influential women the Byzantine Empire had ever known. Just a few years after Justinian and Theodora ascended the throne, the Byzantine Empire faced one of the greatest crises in its history. In January 532 AD, tensions that had been building for months suddenly exploded into violence. Rival factions, known as the Blues and the Greens, famous for their support of competing chariot racing teams, united in anger against the government. What began as public unrest quickly transformed into a full-scale rebellion known as the Nika Riots. The streets of Constantinople descended into chaos. Furious crowds set buildings on fire, attacked government officials, and demanded the removal of Justinian. Flames spread across large sections of the city, destroying homes, churches, and public structures. The situation became so dangerous that many members of the imperial court believed the empire was on the verge of collapse. Rebels even declared support for a rival claimant to the throne, threatening to replace Justinian entirely. Inside the palace, panic spread. Justinian's advisors urged him to flee the city while escape was still possible. Some feared that remaining in Constantinople would lead to certain death. Faced with overwhelming pressure, the emperor reportedly began considering the possibility of abandoning the capital. At that critical moment, Theodora spoke. Refusing to accept defeat, she delivered a powerful statement that changed the course of history. According to later accounts, she argued that fleeing would only exchange imperial power for a life of fear and humiliation. She insisted that it was better to die as a ruler than live as a fugitive. Her courage stunned the court and restored confidence among those who had lost hope. Inspired by her determination, Justinian abandoned plans to escape. Instead, he ordered his generals to crush the rebellion. Imperial troops entered the hippodrome, where thousands of rebels had gathered, and launched a devastating attack. The massacre ended the uprising and secured Justinian's rule. The empire survived its darkest hour. From that day forward, no one doubted Theodora's influence. She had helped save the throne when even the emperor himself had nearly given up. After the Nika Riots were crushed, Theodora's position within the Byzantine Empire became stronger than ever before. No longer viewed merely as the emperor's wife, she emerged as one of the most influential figures in the government. Officials, generals, diplomats, and religious leaders quickly realized that her opinions carried enormous weight. Many important decisions were discussed with her, and her advice often shaped the policies of the empire. Theodora's rise was extraordinary. A woman who had once lived in poverty now stood at the center of one of the world's most powerful states. Yet she never forgot the hardships she had experienced during her youth. Those experiences influenced many of the reforms she supported as empress. She understood how vulnerable women could be in a society dominated by wealthy and powerful men. Using her influence, Theodora pushed for legal changes that offered greater protection to women. She supported efforts to punish those involved in human trafficking and exploitation. Shelters were established for women seeking refuge from abusive situations, and certain laws were revised to improve women's rights in matters of marriage and property. While Byzantine society remained deeply unequal, these reforms represented significant changes for the time. At the same time, Theodora was known for her political toughness. She carefully monitored rivals and showed little patience for those she believed threatened the stability of the empire. Her enemies accused her of being ruthless and manipulative. Rumors spread throughout Constantinople, portraying her as a woman who secretly controlled the emperor and eliminated opponents through intrigue. Whether these stories were true or exaggerated by hostile writers remains a matter of debate among historians. What is certain is that few individuals inspired such strong reactions. To ordinary citizens, she was proof that a person from humble origins could rise to unimaginable heights. Too many aristocrats, she represented a challenge to the traditional social order they had long dominated. As the years passed, Theodora became far more than an empress. She became a symbol of power, resilience, and determination, leaving an impact on Byzantine politics that would be remembered long after her lifetime, in 548 AD. After years of sharing power with Emperor Justinian and influencing the direction of the Byzantine Empire, Theodora died. Her death marked the end of one of the most remarkable political careers in history. Although she had begun life in poverty and uncertainty, she left the world as one of the most powerful women ever to sit beside an imperial throne. Her journey from the crowded streets of Constantinople to the heart of the empire remains one of history's most extraordinary transformations. Theodora's absence was deeply felt within the imperial court. Justinian continued to rule for many years after her death, but contemporary accounts suggest that he never fully recovered from the loss of the woman who had been his closest advisor and most trusted partner. Together, they had navigated rebellions, political conspiracies, religious disputes, and military campaigns that shaped the future of the Byzantine world over the centuries. Historians have fiercely debated Theodora's character and legacy. Some ancient writers portrayed her as ambitious, ruthless, and willing to use any means necessary to achieve her goals. Others viewed her as a brilliant leader who overcame enormous obstacles and used her position to protect vulnerable people within society. The truth likely lies somewhere between these extremes. Like many powerful rulers, she was both admired and feared. What cannot be questioned is her influence on history. During the Nika Riots, her courage helped preserve Justinian's throne and prevented the possible collapse of his government. Her support for legal reforms improved conditions for many women living in the empire. Her political instincts strengthened the authority of the imperial court during a period of constant challenges. Today, Theodora remains one of the most fascinating figures of the Byzantine era. Her story reveals the hidden realities behind the glittering image of Constantinople, a world filled with hardship, ambition, danger, and opportunity. From the darkest corners of society emerged a woman who defied expectations and reshaped an empire. Nearly 15 centuries later, her name still endures as a symbol of resilience, power, and one of history's most unforgettable empresses.